Napoleon is one of the most highly anticipated movies coming to our theatres this November. The real story of one man who would define an era.
I led the French victory at Toulon.
As important as the characters in this movie are the battles. I want to delve into the history and the shooting process of these large-scale battle scenes. And who better to guide me through it than the director himself, multi-award-winning filmmaker Sir Ridley Scott. Do you feel incredibly lucky that you created these epic films?
Every time. My team is, I have to think, is the best in the business. It's the first time Joaquin been out in the field and he said, who are all these people? I said, this is all for you, mate.
Did you end up rooting for Napoleon? Ridley, thanks for coming on. Why Napoleon and why now? The big man.
In many respects, he's one of the great curiosities in history, any time, anywhere. There's 400 books being written about Napoleon Bonaparte, 400. So clearly, he's one of the more interesting historical figures you could possibly imagine, both as military, politician, leader, emperor, everything.
There's so many versions of Napoleon, aren't there? There's the sort of the man that everyone's screaming, "Vive l'Empereur." There is the lover. There is the. But you guys have teased out a kind of version of Napoleon I think is fascinating. He's a little bit awkward sometimes, isn't he?
Well, this comes from Joaquin, because I'd done one version of the script, and then I could only think of Joaquin. He was always the man. I passed it by and said, "What do you think?" And he couldn't believe that I wanted to play Napoleon Bonaparte. That was the initial reaction. And then little by little, we crept into it. Then I had a script which I could send to him. And then with Joaquin, and as the artist he is, there was a lot to say. And so we sat down for many days re-discussing who this man may be, because he said, I don't see him on the page. Who was he?
And you told me you still storyboard you
Well,
love drawing
I
out
drifted back into, because I had a good hand and could really draw and kind of really paint, but I suddenly realized I should use it to prepare my film. So instead of, because when you delegate a storyboard, there's a lot of times explaining what you want to do, and frankly, I could draw it faster than explaining it. So eventually I stopped storyboard and would draw it myself. So Napoleon's storyboard is this thick.
I was going to say, that must have been that in itself is a gigantic...
It's not stick figures, you're literally drawing close-up, medium shot, wide shot. So sometimes I haven't got the location, so I'll draw the location, then look at the drawing, then go find the location.
That in itself sounds like a work that should be in the British Library.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
No, it's pretty good stuff. No, it's good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so and we should say, when I heard you were doing Napoleon, I was like, this is very exciting. My goodness me, is it going to be the story of 1815 or the Austerlitz campaign? No, you did the whole thing.
No.
Why did you want to do the whole thing? Because that's a massive undertaking.
Well, why not? The whole point of doing it is the scale of his undertaking, what he managed to achieve. I can't think of any leader today that has achieved as much.
Yeah, Napoleon is the Napoleon of movies.
Napoleon is the Napoleon of military leaders,
yeah.
I think. Because also, I think he had a great sense of architecture, a sense of plan. He was a great politician. He was a great bureaucrat. And he elevated the bureaucracy and order of France dramatically.
Everyone around here.
What is this costume you have on?
This is my uniform.
Everyone so near.
I led the French victory at Toulon.
Napoleon was a talented gunnery officer, and his first opportunity was they had a big problem of the English were blockading ports. The biggest port to blockade was Toulon. He went to Toulon to find that the general in charge was a court painter. And of all things, he was talented at painting fruit. So he went to the base and saw complete neglect, lack of leadership, and just took over.
Those in power only see me as a brute, unfit for higher office.
You're playing Napoleon here at this point. He's nervous. He's nervous at this point of his career. It's his first.
Scared to death.
Yeah. This is the point at which he either walks onto the great stage of history or he stumbles and falls off it. Yeah.
And he got, I think he must have gone through many feelings at that moment of fear of failure.
Yeah.
Once you go this far, it's better to die in the battlefield than fail.
And you show Napoleon in the thick of the fighting. He does actually get bayoneted in the leg, I think, in at Toulon,
it's
doesn't he?
all accurate. What happened is all true.
What we're looking at here is not CGI.
No, it's all real.
But we live in a world now where everyone's talking about AI and doing everything fake. I mean,
Well,
do you think your career will mark the golden age of massive films?
I think you feel when it's fake, when it's AI, you know it's somehow artificial. All of this is real shooting. We shot this in Malta, which I've been there. Malta, in a funny kind of way, is an architectural gem. Really, architecture is medieval, Renaissance. It's stunning. Medina is incredible.
I was trying to film on a tall ship, and it's the first time I heard about your movie. And you couldn't find a tall ship.
Yeah.
In Cornwall, no tall ships. They said
it was
Ridley
right then
Scott's
bought.
got them. He said everyone who's got a tall ship. Ridley's basically saying, put out the back call. Anyone with a tall ship, come to Malta. And I was like, doesn't he know we're trying to make a little podcast?
Aren't they great?
I mean, they're gorgeous.
I promise you brilliant successes.
We are discovered.
Good.
Wait!
Nice! It's a trap! Retreat!
Right there, you see that down there? That's an airport down below. That's an airplane,
airport.
airfield.
Oh, right.
But the wooden is married to the wooden foreground where I shot Marx Aurelius on Gladiator.
Oh, okay, this is where you shot the Gladiator.
Same place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel incredibly lucky that you created these epic films?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
What's it like on location? You're like, I cannot believe all these people are here.
Well, no, the first moment we turned up in Berlin, at the big house, we shot a lot of the stuff in the big house, and there's a unit of 900 personnel there. And it's the first time Joaquin had been out in the field, and he said, who are all these people? I said, this is all for you, mate. He goes,
Yeah, you're
really?
right.
I said, yeah.
As a filmmaker, I can't believe anyone could. This would be the dream, wouldn't it? To be
Oh, yeah.
sending
yeah.
cavalry
Well, no, I
charges.
try and take my stride. You can't be afraid. You got to go out and say, no, stop. You got to be able to say, stop, it's wrong, then adjust it. But, I run a film a bit like a board meeting. When you're approaching the movie, the production, the actual shooting, the whole unit's about 900 personnel. And there's 40 HOD, so we sit around a boardroom table. I'll say, right, page 1, problem? No, page 2, problem. What's the problem? Have you talked to him? Well, talk to him. Page 3. That's the way you do it.
Yeah,
and then of course you'll come to things that really need proper discussion with us. That's how you find out what the real problems are.
This is that when they discover they're on the ice.
Nice! It's a trap!
This is an instant classic. This is an extraordinary scene on the big screen, isn't it? With
Yes.
so falling through the ice.
We
and
cut a large area about the size of 2 swimming pools. You go in the tank at Pinewood, you shoot the stuff.
Okay.
Digital, the cannonballs hitting the water, I love. That's digital.
Yeah. What about historical accuracy? What if when the historian goes, sorry, Sir Ridley, it didn't quite happen like that? You go, listen, I've done enough with you.
Well,
you have to have artistic license,
I
right?
would say, how did you know were you there? They go, oh, no, right. So exactly. So I said, Ron had 400 books written about him. So it means maybe the first one was the most accurate. The next one was already doing a version of the writer. Yeah. By the time you get to 399, guess what? A lot of speculation.
And how close are you to that? Are you shouting at that guy? Come on, man.
No. What I do, because I'm always, this is about 11 cameras.
Exactly. Well.
So I have to be in a trailer
Okay.
with 11 monitors bigger than that.
Okay.
And I'm watching everything. So I was a very good camera operator. So I can talk to an operator as an operator. Say, you missed this out. You're too slow, too fast. Before you go, you're too wide. You go tighter.
Okay.
So and You know, my real film school was advertising.
Yeah.
So if you do 2,500 commercials personally, and I'm on the camera every day, it's a great school.
This standard bearer galloping away is such a great moment.
I'm not built like other men. All of Europe is uniting forces against me.
This is it. We're gonna portray
Well,
Waterloo,
bizarrely, the two armies are almost 2 miles apart.
forming the
real.
square. This is brilliant.
This
and
is
you've got
it.
the King's colour. You've got the right flags there. I mean, it's all happening.
And this is all real.
I mean, that is
Yes.
epic.
Oh my God. But you know, to be
You've
going.
seen this a million times. Are you still like? Is it? What's it like when you watch this now?
No, I always think, well, I'm in a room, in a tube with all these monitors, no one in there, kind of in there. I don't want any advice. I want to
really?
follow no, I want to follow my own sword.
Okay.
So I say, stop. Now I say, come in. So we bring them all in, and if we're getting clogged up, we'll bring the operators into the trailer. I say, right, watch this. There. Readjust. So you've got stunts, you've got operators, and we readjust the shot.
Yeah.
And then they go back and do it. It's very efficient. My team is, I have to think, is the best in the business.
Do you go to bed at night thinking, I cannot believe I've just
No.
engaged an
No, I
entire
get-
generation in the Roman Empire, or now in Napoleon? There's going to be people out there.
Well, I'm quietly proud of it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thrilled because I'm still allowed to do it. Yeah, I'm still capable of doing it, but I'm still allowed to do it. I love it.
Did you end up rooting for Napoleon?
Well, you know, anybody vulnerable, you tend to root for them.
Okay.
And I found Joaquin, one of his biggest, most powerful things that he has is he's a very sympathetic man.
Yeah.
And he's vulnerable.
He's vulnerable.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so even playing a bastard, even when he's playing the joke, he's vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best temptation of a monster who's vulnerable.
But and that's the interesting thing about Napoleon is but also he can play. Joaquin Phoenix plays him both as a genius and as
Cool.
uncertain and vulnerable and
Completely.
insecure. Yeah, it's very.
That's very important because that makes him more interesting, I thought. And we knew by enough research, when you look at the research and understand his hesitation, he had to be vulnerable.
Cut off their retreat!
It was really amazing to watch him touch the really dark places. I could really see him tapping into that kind of psyche.
My destiny is more powerful than my will.
I wanted to do something beyond just the battles because action can get boring.
Yeah.
Sex in the bedroom can get boring. So it had to be what was Napoleon's need for this woman. So he was obsessed with her, and I think she was his soulmate, but she wasn't reciprocating. She didn't really love him, I don't think. And I think because of that, he made it love him. It made him love her more. He was obsessed with her.
Yeah.
And so it shows in his letters, which are sometimes juvenilely loving or sexual. They're kind of embarrassing to read. It's like, oh my God, you really wrote this? She never read them. There were bundles of them in her bedroom. She never opened them, which says something. She didn't really care. And then later she began, once he said to her, we must be divorced because you cannot give me a successor. So in a way it was tragic for him. And it became at that moment tragic for her because she lost her security. But he looked after her so well. The generosity was enormous.
You think you're great? You are just a tiny little brute that is nothing without me.
But in the publicity, you also use the word tyrant. So, like, are you worried that this is going to be swept into the kind of cultural? Is Napoleon good? Was he bad? How should we feel about him?
I think
What's your
I
view
think
on
he
that?
was great and brutal. You have to be. He makes some pretty tough decisions and choices, right? And so, how many people would die during his battles? And how many civilians suffered along the way? It's like addressing Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, I think, became guilty as he got older about what he'd done. You can't be that powerful having not done a lot of massive damage.
So how do you want people to leave this epic, like they've come out of the movie theatre, they are staggering out of the movie theatre. How do you want them to feel when they leave? Do you want them to be fanboys of Napoleon? Do you want them to think about the nature of power and fate?
I think everything. Elated by watching such a spectacle that is, I try to make as real as possible, and hopefully it's as accurate, and therefore, I hesitate to use the word because it's dangerous, because people say educational, I don't want to see it, that's boring, anything educational is boring. Okay. But and not that you've just walked out learning something.
You wonder whether in the future of film, who knows, but whether they'll ever have this many people replicating Waterloo ever again, or whether they're just going to be tempted to do it.
I hope so. I hope it doesn't go away.
I hope so.
I think everyone loves to have a bedtime story, don't they?
Ridley Scott, thank you very much
Thank you,
indeed. I really enjoyed that.
I must warn you, I will not be the second in command. I will win by fire. I am destined for greatness.
I found the crown of France in the gutter and placed it atop my own head.